Hello, seniors. In this video, I'm going to be going over the FRQ on linkage institutions. That's from the 2016 FRQ number 1. In it, you see that this is part 1 of your 4 FRQs that you get on the AP test. One of them you had on your exam, and then the other 2 are going to be in subsequent videos. So, if you haven't written this one yet, what I would like you to do is take a couple minutes, hit pause, and then write this question. After you've written it, hit play again, and then we can go over it together. All right, so let's look at part 1. They want you to explain one important function of political parties as a linkage institution in elections. Remember your verb, describe, you got to give those characteristics. So, what you have to think through is, okay, what do political parties do? Well, 1, they recruit people to run for office. They say, hey, you're a solid Democrat in Collin County. You should be someone who's running for some sort of local office. This can go all the way up to, obviously the presidency. People there tend to self-select. But also there could be some, hey, this is the person who it should be. They also give voters information, so you may get a flyer from the Democratic or the Republican Party. They do a lot of fundraising. We've seen all kinds of examples of this. They can also ask voters to directly vote for candidates. So again, saying, vote Clinton, vote Trump, vote Obama, vote whoever. So these are the ways that they reach out to you. So to describe, I think just, giving your solid example is easier for y'all. Remember I said that if you go a little bit above the verb, that's going to be okay. So to talk in abstracts, y'all find a bit difficult. So perhaps just saying, just mailing the flyers or however it is. For this question, there's Crash Course Government, which I think are really good to watch. There's one on interest groups, there's one on political parties, there's one on media. I've included a link to one down there. So let's go on to part 2. In part 2, you need to describe the influence of the media. So in 1, we have gatekeeping. Remember, gatekeeping is where basically there are 10,000 different stories, 10,000 different pieces of information going on every day. And so the media determines which are relevant. So things that are going to be like the top news stories, things that are going to be depicted, we will see there. They can also set the agenda. So some news sources have clear things that they're trying to get across. Sometimes it's part of a larger narrative. But they are definitely distilling what they think is the most important and convey it to the people. Scorekeeping and horse race journalism, I think great examples of these would be like the primary elections. So we had, 16, 17 people running in the Republican primary. It was all about, hey, who's ahead, who's going on. This is where we focus on the Iowa caucus, and then we focus on the various ones. So the idea is like always who's in charge, the polling, the various things. I think, again, coming up with examples is a little bit easier. So you could talk about how our election cycle is getting longer and longer. You could talk about how there's this insane focus on who is actually going to be the candidate even 2 years out, which is a symptom of this horse race journalism. In part C, you have 2 strategies that interest groups use to influence the electoral process. Remember, interest groups are pretty much anytime people band together to form this group. So giving money would be the biggest way, forming PACs. You could talk about the cash, the various things. Again, examples would be good here. So saying that they give money directly to candidates or they give money to the PACs. You could then talk about how the PACs will go about endorsing candidates, or the interest group itself can endorse a candidate. So, like the AARP may come out and say, "Hey, we support this person because they are all about interest for people who are retired." Because you have great fellowship in your interest group, this could lead to people, actually saying, "Hey, I'm going to vote for this person because." Grassroots canvassing is where they go out knocking door to door saying, hey, you should vote for this person. Again, remember, interest groups have people in them, which is, just sort of a key in that they have like manpower to go out and actually do these things. They can run ads, so the NRA supports this, the NRA does not. They can do issue advocacy, that was a rough word, where they can talk about like, this is our most important issue. So NRA, guns, and this is a person who is protecting our guns. This is a person who is not. Polling, so they can like ask their voters actual questions. So I've given you an example on the side of this AARP poll. So when people take Social Security, this could be helpful. They can also just poll like, hey, do you support this person or is this an issue? So lots of examples there for these strategies. When we talk about like Part D, this is sort of the negative side. So explain how, according to critics, interest groups may limit representative democracy. Here, like really talking about how some voices become louder than others. So maybe the elites are getting more represented in their interest, either because of money or because of influence, etc. Favoring narrow interests over broad. So some interest groups have just one issue that they care about. And so perhaps that drowns out like a lot of other conversation on other issues. So all of a sudden, guns become the major issue because the NRA is putting a lot of money into that. That may not be the number one voter or the number one issue in voters' minds. They could provide some biased information, distort some facts. We talked about earlier in the year looking at like public opinion surveys, like you could ask questions in very skewed manners, and then that could give a false sense of like who actually cares about something. And then you have like your hyperpluralism, which is when you have too many voices that can lead to gridlock. So if a candidate is hearing, we want guns, we don't want guns, we maybe want guns, we want maybe some guns, we want all the guns, that can be problematic. And basically they just sit there and like, I don't know what to do. All right. So hopefully you got all those points. If you didn't, go back, look at the information that you did not get, maybe go back over those things. You can also look up online some examples of actual FRQs that were written so you can see how a good essay was written on this. Talk to you later.